Welcome to another edition of the Electoral Road Show with me, Steyn, and analyst supremo, Wayne Sussman. Welcome back, Wayne.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. It's great to be speaking to you again on what was not just an incredible night for Bafana Bafana on the soccer fields in Monterrey, Mexico, where we qualified for the next round for the first time ever, but also the final round of by-elections for the period between 2021 and 2026 on the road to the 2026 local government elections.
Wayne, may we start with Northwest, the result of that by-election last night?
Sure. So this by-election took place in Rustenberg, and Rustenberg is the most populous municipality in the Northwest, and also a key municipality for obviously many political parties, the number of voters there. This Ward 15 in the Safari Taina Protea Park area, is the ward where the DA did best in 2024, but equally the ward of the Freedom Front Plus did best in Rustenberg in 2024. So with the challenges the DA is facing or has faced with Minister John Steyn and the FMD crisis, the foot and mouth disease crisis, I was watching this ward very closely to see whether the Freedom Front could hurt the DA in this suburban DA stronghold. And essentially it was as expected. It wasn't a high turnout, but the DA gaining ground here, going up from 72% of the vote to over 80%, getting 81% of the vote. And the Freedom Front declining from 23% to 19%. We know that in the lead up to the 2021 elections, the Freedom Front had victories over the DA in DA seats across the Northwest in towns like Schweizer, Reinicke, Stilfontein, and Potchefstroom. But in this period of 2021 to 2026, the Freedom Front haven't been able to pick up any wards off the DA, and the DA put an exclamation mark here in Rustenberg last night. They'll be happy. Of course, they won't be able to rest on their laurels. I think they've got a lot of work still in the Northwest and other areas where there's a high concentration of Afrikaner voters. But this would encourage the DA a great deal in Rustenberg.
Over to Bushbuck Ridge.
That's correct. I often think, Chris, Bushbuck Ridge, people don't quite realize how populous it is. Bushbuck Ridge is the 14th, is the municipality in South Africa, the 14th most amount of voters. It's a very big area with a lot of votes, and it's also an ANC stronghold. If you'll remember correctly, and we've spoken about this a lot, the province where the province where the ANC declined the second most in 2024 was in Mpumalanga. And this was because in Zulu-speaking areas on the border of KwaZulu-Natal especially, Umkhonto we Sizwe made big inroads, but also in vote-rich Mbombela, Nelspruit, the provincial capital, amongst the Swati speakers, Umkhonto we Sizwe made big inroads. But Bushbuck Ridge held firm. The ANC's vote share hardly declined, and it was because of its performance in Bushbuck Ridge that the ANC was able to still retain an outright majority. So what was going to happen in the final by-election in Mpumalanga, in Bushbuck Ridge, for this period of 2021 to 2026? We go to Ward 3 to Mkushlu, Calcutta, which is right by the Pabeni Gate entrance at the Kruger National Park. And the ANC having a stunning result, growing from 67% to 85%, and the EFF's vote share declining by more than half from 32% to 15%. What we have now seen, and we've discussed this here at Biz News, in the last three by-elections, is that the EFF have done very poorly. And here what we also see is, in a place like Bushbuck Ridge, is that the ANC's flag flies very, very high, and they'll be delighted with its resounding victory to close out the period of 2021 to 2026. So, Chris, yes, they're actually boring, simple results to analyze, but every result tells a story. The DA laying down a marker to the Freedom Front in the Northwest, and the ANC certainly making a big point with its strong showing in Bushbuck Ridge.
Healthcare matters, but what matters most?
Having cover for the people who keep this business going.
Bonitas is there for you when it counts. Bonitas, medical aid for South Africa. Visit bonitas.co.za and find your plan.
When the Ekurhuleni Council has finally passed a budget of 71 billion rand after several failed attempts, but only because the Democratic Alliance supported the African National Congress.
Correct. So we saw a version of the GNU play out here in Ekurhuleni, but the DA do not sit in the government. They're in the Ekurhuleni government. They're the largest opposition party. But the ANC was unable to pass the budget with the EFF support. We know that the reason why the DA lost power is because the ANC and the EFF were able to work together to cobble together a coalition. And the EFF, after the fallout of the mayor and the then MMC Dunga, who's now the MEC for Finance, the EFF provincial leader, the ANC has failed to pass the budget. And of course, if you have a failure to pass a budget, there are big ramifications for the resident, for the work of the municipality. And the DA, from their opinion, were able to extract a number of concessions from the ANC to pass this budget. That's the way they've sold it. But the EFF are saying, look, the ANC and the DA are in the same WhatsApp group in the GNU. They're also in the same WhatsApp group in Ekurhuleni. So the passing of the budget might become a key issue in Ekurhuleni. We've just spoken about the DA and the Freedom Front in Rustenberg. Just so listeners and viewers know, the Freedom Front did far better in Ekurhuleni than the City of Johannesburg in 2021. And they could also say, look, the DA and the ANC are the exact same. There's no difference. Vote for us. We will stand up to the ANC. So on the one hand, the DA is saying they're acting in the residents' interest. They're acting in service delivery's interests. But critics of the ANC and DA will paint another picture. We know that this metropolitan area, from the Tembisa Hospital scandal to the commissions of inquiry centered around the Tembisa Hospital scandal, to the passing of the budget, this has been a turbulent ride, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Ekurhuleni on election day.
When looking back at the voter registration weekend, marred by a spate of political killings.
Chris, this was very sad. The first story we heard was the assassination of the DA ward councillor candidate in Dunoon in Cape Town. We recently covered that, analysed the Dunoon by-election in the city of Cape Town, where this DA candidate did well, growing her party support. Then we heard the tragic news of a sitting ward councillor, ANC ward councillor in Nelson Mandela Bay, also being assassinated during the registration weekend. We've heard stories of Umkhonto Wesizwe activists dying, and also Build One South Africa, Mamusi Maimani's Build One South Africa party, also losing one of their candidates. We still need to understand more details. These candidates and the councillor and activists were assassinated during registration weekend. So it is plausible that these might be politically motivated hits. And I actually told you last week that I expected it to be a low intensity, low activity affair because of the advent of online registration. And again, I watched the IEC's press conference on Monday to analyze what happened on the weekend. But there is a big caveat, which is different to previous rounds, and that is we haven't seen the full online registration figures. So I'll give you an example why this is important. The figures the IEC gave on Monday said that KwaZulu-Natal was by far the largest province with registrations. Remember, KwaZulu-Natal has about 1 in 5, 20% of South Africa's voters. And beating Gauteng, our most populous province, was the Eastern Cape. And beating, and actually ahead of the Western Cape, remember the Western Cape is the third most amount of voters, was Limpopo. So let's say, I know you're sitting in the Western Cape, has the Western Cape registered less voters? We can't fully analyze that, that number until we see the online registration figures. So I'm encouraged by the number of young people who registered. There's one more registration weekend coming, but I can't deliver full comment until I see the full picture of total registrations from the end of the 2024 registration period before that election and to date.
But the good news is that almost 500,000 new voters did register.
That is correct. And just the one other thing which is important, Chris, is when we look at the data released by the IEC, it includes people going to their voting district because they've moved and or to check that they've registered. And I think that's a sign of intention that if you are going to the IEC, even if you registered, to make sure you register at the right voting station, or re-registering in your new ward or your new voting district, or just checking that you remain on the voters roll, is a sign of intent that you're going to show up. We know that in 2021, and it was still COVID then, but it was a very poor registration weekend, and the numbers here surpassed that. And I think the numbers surely going to be even better when we see the online figures. I think you just go register to vote .elections.co.za or .gov.za, and it literally takes a few minutes with your ID. So even if you're not registered, Chris, you can still register online. If you want to make sure you're registered to vote, you just SMS your ID number to 32810. Take advantage of these opportunities to register. As I always say, if you don't participate in voting, i.e., I'm even giving you the permission to spoil your ballot, but if you don't participate in the voting process, I believe it's much harder to complain. Participate, and there will be one more round of registration in the first weekend of August 2026.
Thank you, Wayne. In the coming weeks, I will be asking you to give us an in-depth preview of all the mayoral candidates for the metros. And I'm looking forward to the polling results as well here on the Electoral Road Show with me, Steyn, for Biz News. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Start your day a step ahead. Biz News Insider. It delivers the business stories that matter every morning straight to your inbox, sharp, fast, and free. Subscribe now. In uncertain times, good information is priceless. The Biz News Conference is heading back to the Drakensberg. Join me, Alec Hogg, from the 11th to the 14th of August for BNC 9. Champagne Sports Resort, where it all began, and where our community gathers for honest conversations, smart investing insights, and direct access to some of South Africa's sharpest minds. Come and rub shoulders with the best we've got. 28 keynote speakers, 3 days. Seats are available now. Book your seat by clicking the link in the description.